Welcome back to Fickle Sports and welcome back to a brand new predictions video for game week 25. As always, my name's Alex, joined as ever with me is Gary. You see, Gary, I can introduce you without doing a sly little insult. It's possible.
Not possible for me, I'm sorry. It is the way I've always known you, so can't change now.
Fair enough. That's the way men show love, by the way. As always, before we get into anything, we just want to say a quick thank you to every single one of our supporters. We appreciate every single one of you. On to scores from last week. I have so many numbers in my head. Let's see if I can remember them all correctly. Last week, Gary scored a grand total of 6 compared to my 7, which means he loses again, which I think is like the 10th week in a row. That takes the scores for the month to 17 to yours truly and 13 to Gary. Now, on to our supporter scores, the scores from last week. It was so close last week. In second place is our resident Aston Villa fan, Carl, got 9 with 1 perfect score. But Sam Newbold with 9 points as well, but 2 perfect scores, which just gives him the edge, is our winner this week. Well done, Sam. First game of the game week is return to Friday night football. I was going to do it in a dodgy American accent there, but I got far too scared. And it is Wolves versus Leeds. And for Wolves, they got a 2-1 win against Southampton. It was a very good win for them, I think. It didn't start great for them. It didn't start great at all with Southampton obviously taking the lead. And it wasn't great defending by Wolves. I think that was an all-out avoidable goal. I mean, one, there was Ings. He had far too much space in the box. But the fact Armstrong managed to get so far into their half and to their byline to get that ball in.
Great finish, though.
Oh, yeah, it was a fantastic finish. But I think there's certainly the Wolves manager probably have a look at that and be like, we should have stopped this. But they made up for it. Now, the penalty was a little bit dubious. We've been over that. But it was a fantastic conversion of that penalty by Neves. And then if there's a goal that's going to win you a game, and I think Neto, I think he that goal was good enough to win anyone, any game. It's a fantastic bit of skill. And I'm surprised, like a lot of players, like when they do that, they get to that position. It's actually really difficult for a defender to work out what they're going to do. So when they do decide to take it to the byline and run in, it's really difficult to defend. But it was a fantastic finish and in the end, a very good result for Wolves.
For Leeds, it was quite a bad day at the office. Obviously, the headline grabber is Meslier, who had a really tough time of it. I don't want to be too critical of him because he's super young, talented, and has been performing well all season. But yeah, you have to look at the very first 3 goals and think, the goalkeeper should have done much better there. You kind of expect your goalkeeper to make those saves, especially the first and third goal, which was at the goalkeeper's near post. I don't think you should be getting a proper hand to that. And yeah, for the second goal, it's tough. It obviously is instructed to pass it out and try and build up play that way. I think Arsenal did well to sort of trap Leeds and give very little options to build out. But at some point, when you're pressed and you don't have any options, you just got to put your foot through it. And that was really unfortunate to Meslier. And hope it doesn't knock his confidence too much. But Leeds never stopped. They never gave up, and they gave Arsenal a good old scare. And they brought it back to 4-2, just a thumping header. They really attacked Arsenal, and Bamford could have got that penalty, which could have made it 4-3, which would have really scared Arsenal because Arsenal are quite frail.
What is your prediction for this one?
My prediction, I'm going with Leeds this time. I'm going 2-1 Leeds. They're going to respond.
Yeah, I think I've got a similar vibe. So I was going to do 2-1, but I don't want to copy you. You like to accuse me of copying your answers. So I'm going 3-2 Leeds.
Remember, get your scores in the link below now. Next up is Southampton versus Chelsea. And for Southampton, it gets worse and worse. 6 losses in a row, and on top of that you have a very dubious penalty award, which you have to say, Southampton played really well in that first half, and that penalty had a massive bearing on the game. It's quite a different team talk when you go in 1-1, and then I think Wolves capitalised that in the second half and really took the game to Southampton afterwards. In my ideal world in football, my perfect world, yeah, that's not a penalty at all. Obviously Bertrand didn't mean that at all, wasn't intentional at all. But in this day and age, yeah, the ball is struck and the arm kind of goes in the direction of the ball, so that's going to be flagged up as a penalty, which is really, really unfortunate. And yeah, Southampton couldn't recover from it, and Southampton just need to get results no matter what. Draws, doesn't matter, need to scrap for these points, but it's going to be very difficult against a rejuvenated Chelsea side.
You aren't wrong, Gary, and I think rejuvenate is probably the perfect word there for this Chelsea side. That last win against Newcastle, it was a very, very good win. They created chance upon chance, and they really didn't give Newcastle that much in the way back either. And the thing is, at the beginning of the game, it didn't look too good for them. Maybe I'm being a little bit harsh on Kepa because I just instantly think back to the mistakes, the ball going in off his face and when he was asked to get subbed off. I think of all the bad things and they all come flashing back to me. But I think he actually played quite well. And then the Tammy Abraham injury, it's never good to get an injury that early in the game because obviously Tuchel would have had a setup for that in mind. He would have picked Abraham for a reason, so he wouldn't want to change that early. But they dealt with the Abraham injury. Giroud come in, and what does he do? He scores. Of course he does. It was a very well taken finish by him. And then to cap it off for them, I think they always looked like they was going to win the game, but I think the cream on the cake for them was Werner finally getting his goal. Was it absolutely sloppy, dodgy, borderline a miss hit? Yeah, it was. Does he care? He absolutely could not give two flying shits about how it happened. It was good movement for him to get there, but it was a sloppy goal. He's not going to care. He's got that that first goal in a long time. So I think he'll be really happy with that, and I think Chelsea on a whole will be really happy with that performance.
Yeah, I think with Werner, he's been playing well in the last couple of games. Like the incisions of his runs are there, the timing of his runs there. It's just his finishing that's the problem at the moment. But score prediction time. All of you get your score predictions in the link below. Who do you think is going to run out winners?
Chelsea 3-1.
Yeah, it's like this might be a bookie's dream because I think everyone's going to go for Chelsea, but then Southampton might nick something. No, I can't go there. I'm going 2-0 Chelsea with this one.
Next up, it is Burnley versus West Brom. Now, I know on paper this does sound like a bit of a god-awful game, but I have high hopes because Burnley, in their last two games, because obviously they had two games in the previous game week, as a matter of fact, their game against Fulham just finished, but in their last two games, they've actually played quite well on the whole, and they've scored some fantastic goals. So if we go back to the Palace, what is that? If we go back to the Palace, 3-0 win. It was a fantastic result for them. They played really, really well. And I just want to give a quick shout out to that Lowton goal. That was absolutely fantastic. Borderline Messi-esque. And then they scored another good goal against Fulham. Now, in this game, they wasn't able to get the win. It was a bit of a bitty game. It's an entertaining game to watch. But I feel like Fulham really didn't create much, but Burnley, they had a few chances, but in the end, maybe a draw was just about fair, but they did score another good goal. Now you're really testing my memory, because as I say, this only finished a few hours ago, but Rodriguez absolutely done in the Fulham fullback, and it was a fantastic pass and an excellent finish by, I think it was Barnes. I'm going to check that.
Yeah, I think it was Barnes. Yeah.
I got scared there because I was just thinking it's only just happened. My short-term memory is eroding. But the point is, I think on the whole, I think Fulham was an okay result. I think they'd be happy with a point. Palace, they'd be absolutely delighted with.
Now for West Brom, it is the father of the old school Route 1 football versus the young pretender in Sean Dyche. Can Sam Allardyce basically teach him a lesson? And for West Brom against Man United, it was like a super start to score that early against Man United, and Diagna, he basically over man-powered Lindelof, I believe. Yeah, it was Lindelof. He basically did like the plank challenge on him and scored halfway down the basically at hip height. And I don't know, I think West Brom and Sam Allardyce, they'll be pretty annoyed that they conceded so close to the end of the first half. I think it's hard to shut out Man United completely, because it was a sensational strike. But I still think Sam Allardyce will be pretty disappointed in conceding that goal. And if they got to half time, they could have got in, reorganized, and then attacked the second half, or holding deep against this Man United side, and they couldn't. And even despite that, they have Diagne, who had like 2 other great chances to win it, and he just couldn't find the finish. He really couldn't. That was super frustrating. Imagine if you can get 3 points against Man United, that would have been absolutely amazing. But yeah, they'll be kicking themselves a bit, because the Man United defense was kind of frail.
What's your prediction for this one?
Prediction, I am going, I think it's going to be a high-scoring game. I'm going to go 2-2 here.
Well, I'm sticking with Burnley. I'm sticking with them, and I'm going 1-0 Burnley.
Next up is Liverpool versus Everton. And Liverpool, well, it's just a mad 7.5 minutes. It's just, I do feel bad for Liverpool, because it's one of those FIFA games where you just dominate for like 70 minutes, and then all of a sudden you go a bit AWOL in the brain, and you just start conceding goals, and you don't understand, and you might be losing it to like a noob or a kid, and you end up losing the game. That's kind of how it felt like with Liverpool.
Has this happened to you recently, Gary? This feels very personal.
It's happened my entire life. I never got good at FIFA. It's very little to break down, because it's like Liverpool were super organized, super aggressive, super focused, were attacking well, got the goal. Yeah, you could criticize Liverpool for not getting the second goal, but there was quite a lot of chances, and their finishing should have been a bit better. But then, yeah, that all started by Thiago's lazy leg, which was kind of unnecessary. From then on, it just went downhill. It was poor defending from that free kick. Okay, you let it slip, but you don't lose it the way that Liverpool lost it there. I think you can sense the fragility in this Liverpool team, where the defense is makeshift, the midfield is makeshift, so they can't control the midfield and the pace of the game like they used to with their fully fit squad. And yeah, just a moment of madness from Alisson. I feel like, again, I think he's trying to make up for his previous mistakes, so he went absolutely overboard. So, tough week for Liverpool, but they've got to correct it for the Merseyside derby.
Yeah, 100% agree, Gary. And if it's one game where Liverpool are going to bring that A game, it is the Merseyside derby. And for Everton, they're coming off the back of that 3-1 loss to Manchester City. And it was quite frustrating, because in the first half, before either team scored, Man City were kind of dominating possession. They were very much in control. Everton hadn't even got a shot off by that point. And I was just thinking, you're just playing into their hands. This is not, you have to in some way try and work out a way to hurt City, or they're just going to literally be quite happy to keep the ball and just keep working you out. Man City scored, and it was, I think it took a slight deflection. But as soon as City scored, Everton stepped up and they started attacking Manchester City, and they looked really good from the Manchester City's goal onwards up till half time. And obviously in that time, they also got their goal. So I was thinking to myself, if they come out in the second half and play how they played between the goal and half time, then they could be in with a shout of this. But, as the second half went on, they kind of reverted back to what we saw in that first half, or the first part of that first half, where they were just letting kind of City have the ball, and City just kept on turning that screw, and they were just able to create enough chances to, and they've got the quality. They get these half chances, they're going to put them away. It's a fantastic finish by Mahrez. I don't think Everton did enough going forward. They really should have worked harder to try and hurt City, I think.
Score prediction time. Merseyside derby. Guys, get your predictions in the link below. Liverpool fans put 9-0, Everton fans put 9-0, whatever you want. Who have you got, Alex?
I think I'm going for a draw. I think Ancelotti definitely wouldn't have been happy with that performance, and I think he's going to be coming out a bit more guns blazing against Liverpool, and it should make up to be a really interesting game. So for that reason, I'm going 3-3.
Yeah, it's difficult because Liverpool are so fragile in defence, but they played well against Leipzig. I'm going Liverpool 2-1 here. I'm going Liverpool 2-1. Just call it how I see it.
Next up, it is Fulham versus Sheffield United. Now, in their last 2 games, because obviously they had an extra game in the last game week, in the last 2 games, they beat Everton 2-0, and it was a fantastic result for them. And the thing is, their last game against Burnley had only just finished. And I was thinking to myself, up until before that game started, that maybe they'd turn a corner, because it was a fantastic performance against Everton. It really was. But against Burnley, it was a bit more of the Fulham that we've seen quite a lot in the tail end of this season, where the performance was, it was a good performance. It wasn't great, but it was good. They didn't create enough to deserve the win, and there's just a few lapses in concentration defensively. For their goal. The way Burnley were able to get in there is because Fulham were bombing forward on that side, and Burnley just took full advantage of that. I'm not going to complete this Fulham segment without at least mentioning that their goal by Aina, I think I said that right, scoring with his belly, absolutely fantastic. You know what? I take it back. They deserve the victory simply because he scored with his belly. It was absolutely brilliant. But, it really was like kind of two different performances there. Great against Everton, but a little bit of what we've seen before from Fulham against Burnley. So hopefully they can pick up that sort of Everton performance again and do it against Sheffield United.
For Sheffield United, it is rough times right now for Sheffield United. I feel like a couple of games ago when they beat West Brom, that was a massive game to win. Absolutely massive. And to keep it all alive still, you just wanted Sheffield United to pick up some more results following that victory. You wanted that to revitalise them. To be fair, you're facing Chelsea and West Ham, which you're probably not expected to win, but you just wanted them to scrap and just get a point at least from any of the games. And against West Ham, it was a tough afternoon. I've still felt like Sheffield United played well, attacked well down the flanks against West Ham, still created overloads and created decent crosses, but really got punished by quite a few counter attacks by West Ham. And I really don't know how Basham didn't get a red card for that, which would have made Sheffield United's day even tougher. But despite that, McGoldrick had some golden opportunities to score. I feel like I might get a lot of pushback on this. Like, you kind of see the lack of quality in the striking partnerships up front. It's just, when you get that many chances, you just gotta take him. So this is a massive game. If they can win against Fulham, it will set something up to potentially do the great escape, but it's going to be a tough one.
But prediction time, Gary, what you got for this one?
Prediction time, I'm going to go with a Fulham win here, just because Fulham have shown to me against Everton that they can do it, and I'm going 2-1.
You know me, I'm a sucker for a trend, not in any fashion way, but in a football sense. So I'm going for a 1-1 draw.
Next up is a very bitter rivalry in West Ham versus Tottenham. And West Ham, each week they're stepping up to the plate. They really are. The form has been perfect, but when they can win, they've been solid, and when they've been expected to win, they have. And this is in response to Champions League positions. And I feel like loads of other fan bases were like, West Ham are playing well, but okay, at some point they'll drop off. But West Ham responded every single time. And against Sheffield United, it was quite a tough game. Sheffield United were attacking well, but I felt like West Ham were sort of always in control of it. They were solid defensively, and when they soaked up the pressure from Sheffield United and just broke on Sheffield United time and time again. And they're really rejuvenated by having fresh legs and Jesse Lingard, who's very athletic, and he attacked the Sheffield United extremely well when he had the space. And I don't know how the Sheffield United defender didn't get a red card for that penalty, because that was just a complete wipeout, and expertly taken by Declan Rice, that penalty. And Sheffield United, McGoldrick, he had a couple of chances which could have made it a difficult game, but at the end of the day, against the bottom team in the table, no one's going to give them a lot of superlatives. They did what they had to do, and they did that professionally. And just ask Man United, who lost at home to Sheffield United.
For Tottenham, it's that 3-0 loss to City. And here's the thing, I think every Tottenham fan coming into that, they would have known the form that City have coming into this. They have looked borderline perfect coming into this game. It was always going to be a tough game. We knew what the tactics were going to be. We knew that City were going to have the possession, and Mourinho was going to try and soak up the pressure and hit them on the counter. What you don't want to do is just add individual mistakes and just give them opportunity upon opportunity off of your own mistakes for them to score goals. And if you look at the goals they conceded, a lot of them, they were stoppable goals. The penalty.
I thought he was very unlucky with that penalty. Really thought it was unlucky.
Well, is it because Gundogan tried to kind of Cruyff turn and
he fucked it up and then turned,
because he put his foot there to stop it, and look, it was a bit unfortunate, but
it's still a penalty, but it's really unlucky.
But then you've got Hugo Lloris, World Cup winning Hugo Lloris, who can't save a shot that's which hit straight at him, and they constantly left space at the back with Gundogan just constantly, he just kept on exploiting those spaces. So I think as much as it was the City we expected, Tottenham they also helped with their own downfall.
Score predictions. Everyone get those score predictions in the form below. Who do you think is going to take this win?
This is a tough one. This is a really tough one. Tottenham could be on a 12-match, win streak. West Ham could be on a 20-match lose streak, but they'll win 5-0. It's just one of those games. But where I don't know what's going to happen, I have to back my side, so I'm going 2-1 Tottenham.
I'm going with the Hams this one. I'll support them 2-1 as usual.
Next up is Aston Villa versus Leicester, and in Aston Villa's last game, it was that 0-0 draw with Brighton. Look, I'm going to be brutally honest with you, Villa fans. It was not a good game for you guys. Attacking wise, I don't like to use that phrase because it could just be one off game. It's not as if they're still picking up wins. They picked up a few wins over the course of last 6 games, so it's not as if they're on a Southampton type lose streak, but they're not as powerful as they were at the beginning of the season. There really isn't a lot to say. They really did not do that much attacking wise, but I did want to save a little bit of this segment just to shout out to Martinez, because he, on the other hand, was by far their best player. He was absolutely superb for them, and
he was on crack again, man. I mean, he had that one bad performance, but that's why I think he's just going to be a great goalkeeper, because the way he responds, he's hungry. He's always hungry to improve his game. Yeah,
and he kept them in it. There's nothing short of that. So he was by far their best player, which is why I wanted to save that lovely little bit of segment just for him, because out of that game, the only good thing was Martinez.
For Leicester, that was a proper smash and grab. I think Leicester fans, you'll be happy to admit it. I mean, it doesn't matter how you win games, I guess, against former champions. But Liverpool were very, very aggressive and incisive for 70 minutes. I want to commend Leicester and Brendan Rodgers just for keeping it close, just riding the storm. Liverpool were dominant. They were holding possession very well, and Leicester were finding it very difficult to break on Liverpool and get deep into Liverpool's defensive third. One attack got Leicester, almost got them a penalty, but it wasn't to be. And Maddison, he was struggling with a lot of set piece deliveries. So for him to come up clutch and do that was just what they needed. And then they smelt the fear in Liverpool and absolutely pounced. Jamie Vardy, he's the type of striker I feel like he missed a couple of chances, but he kind of doesn't care. He just lets it go over his head, and he's always hungry to make those runs and to just get a goal no matter what. And he did. He pounced on that crazy mistake by Alisson, but that's like one step closer to having Champions League football, which they deserved last year. And they're desperate to get this year. Yeah,
I was about to say that any situation which involves Jamie Vardy playing the air guitar or corner flag guitar, I suppose, I'm all for. But what's your predictions for this one, Gary? And if you guys haven't already, hit the link in the description. It takes 30 seconds. You can throw in your predictions in as well.
This is a tough one. I'm actually going 1-1 here. I like both teams.
Yeah, I feel like it depends which side turns up for both of them, so it just makes it so incredibly hard to predict. But I think I'm going to do the same. I think I'm going to go for a 2-2.
Arsenal versus Man City, massive game. I like this thing that Arsenal do. They press from the front and go and attack the team early and force them into mistakes. This is what I want to see from Arsenal. That's probably one of the best halves I've seen Arsenal perform tactically, outsmarting Bielsa, really gave Leeds absolutely no chance or no tactical solution to get out of defence, and they pounced on Leeds, and Leeds tried to give Arsenal some rough treatment, specifically to Bukayo Saka, and I just love the fact that he rose above it and he punished them throughout the entire game. There's lots to love about that game. Aubameyang scoring a hat-trick, who's been on an absolute dry spell, but in classic Arsenal fashion, we have to kind of concede 2 goals and make it squeaky bum time for Arsenal. But as long as Arsenal had the 2-goal lead, it was kind of it was all right. I mean, Bamford almost got a penalty which could have made it 4-3, which would have been very scary. But you can't give that penalty and not give the Bukayo Saka penalty, which was, in my opinion, ruled incorrectly by VAR. So great win, 4-2. I feel like with Arsenal, just take each game as it goes by. Don't worry about European places, just win as many games as possible.
Yeah, 100% agree, Gary, but I think they're coming up a very big bump in the road with Manchester City, who are now on a 17-game win streak, which is absolutely filthy. What else can you say about this City side? It was just a thoroughly professional and impressive performance by them. They didn't let Everton create that many chances, although it was a little bit it was a little bit rocky after Foden scored. Everton went on the front foot and maybe tested that little bit of a new back line. Pep had rotated the centre backs, gave them a bit of a test, obviously conceded, which was also the first time in a few games that they've conceded. So it wasn't maybe a perfect performance because there were a few bad patches, but let's be honest, the majority of the game was just them keeping possession, creating chances for themselves, and 3 times they managed to capitalise. The Mahrez finish was absolutely brilliant. Such brilliant technique, first time in the post and off. And the Silva goal, I don't discredit Pickford for that. I give credit to Silva that he just hit it with so much venom and so much dip. That's so difficult to be that distance for the ball and trying to save the ball when it's dipping like that. So I don't want to take away from Silva by saying, oh, Pickford should have done better. I just think it was such a filthy shot to try and save. So yeah, another really good performance by Manchester City.
Score prediction. Get your predictions in the link below. Just takes 30 seconds to do, but definitely do it. Who are you going for?
I think Arsenal will attack them, but I think that will probably work out to not help them in the end. So I'm going 3-1 City.
Yeah, I'm going 2-1 City. Unfortunately, I just can't. It's a step too far for Arsenal currently in their current state, I think.
Next up is Manchester United versus Newcastle. And in Manchester United's last game, it was that, for lack of a better word, dreadful 1-1 draw with West Brom, and I think United fans, they were really upset. Even Ollie out started trending after that one. I think they were really quite upset with that game, and I think it's probably because, I would say, on balance, I don't know what you feel about this one, Gary, but West Brom are maybe the better team, just about.
I mean, they had a lot of chances to score. The striker, Dianga? I've said that completely wrong.
I butcher loads of names, Gary, so don't you worry. We will all let you off.
He said
but he did have quite a few chances, and the thing is, you're coming up against the Sam Allardyce side, so you know that they're going to try and not concede goals. The last thing you want to do is let them score early, but that's exactly what United did, and it was quite bad defending. They shouldn't have allowed the cross to get in, and then Lindelof got, for lack of a better word, bullied. It wasn't a good day for them, except for one shining moment. It was a fantastically brilliant taken volley by Fernandes. It really
I don't think I've ever seen that type of volley. I've seen it.
Some people,
when you play 60 seconds, like headers and volleys, and someone who's not good swings at a ball and scores. But I mean, Bruno Fernandes, he knows what he's doing, and it's amazing. I've never seen that.
I think it's the way because obviously the ball's behind him and he's able to kind of still get power behind it. So it was an incredible bit of technique. It really was probably the best moment for Manchester United in that whole game. But as I say, it wasn't a great performance by them. They're really going to want to get a better performance in against Newcastle.
For Newcastle, it was a very difficult game. I feel like Newcastle's new attacking formation in 4-5-1 bringing in Joe Willock and having Saint Maximin come out to the left, it's kind of new as well. So it was very difficult for Newcastle. They found it difficult to stop, Chelsea putting the balls through into their forwards right down the middle, and once that happened, when it got wide, Werner and the other wingers, they were making those incisive runs into those crosses, which was causing Newcastle problems all day long. And after the first half, the game felt sort of over. At 2-0, it was really difficult to come back, even though Newcastle did really well in the second half, but they didn't have enough to put pressure on Chelsea the other way back. And Newcastle have had decent form in the last couple of weeks. It's just the teams around them, they're doing quite well as well. So Newcastle are still towards the bottom of the league, but I'm glad that they got 2 wins in the last 3 before they came into this difficult stretch.
What's your prediction for this one?
I'm going 1-1 here. I think Man United are wobbling a little bit, and I think Newcastle can take advantage.
Yeah, it's a tough one because I get the feeling with Manchester United that when they're playing well, they're playing really well, almost impossible to beat. But when they play badly, I feel like it's very much like kind of the confidence very much dictates how they're going to play. And I'm going to go for a 2-2.
Okay. Next up is Brighton versus Crystal Palace. And Brighton, against Aston Villa, against any other team, if you play that well and you get shots on target as many times as you did, you would have won that game. It's just that you came up against the goalkeeper of the season, I think, in Emi Martinez, who was just outrageously on form against you guys. And at least this is better where, previous games for Brighton, you're blaming the loss of points on your strikers being quite woeful in front of goal. But this time, I don't think a lot of blame could be placed onto the strikers. It really was a case of the goalkeeper just pulling out blinders. It's kind of like, the five-a-side team who actually has a decent goalkeeper instead of someone who wants to play outfield and is playing goal. It's that frustrating. And Brighton still picking up results, but they need more wins.
For Crystal Palace, look, the deal over at Fickle Sports. We don't want you guys to suffer more than what you've already gone through. We'll keep this nice and short. It looked downhill when Zaha got his injury. Crystal Palace always struggle without Zaha, and who wouldn't? He's such a fantastic player, and they did struggle without him. Although, Palace, I've got to say, you made Lowton look like prime Lionel Messi, so I feel like you guys are a little bit at fault for that. But other than that, it was a really bad day for them. They'll be hoping to move on and hopefully improve in the next game.
Score predictions. Guys, it takes 30 seconds just to fill that form in. Put your score predictions in now.
Yes, and don't forget to add all your bank details. We want them as well. What's your prediction for this one?
Quite a difficult one. I think the Zaha injury kind of, it is the main factor for me. So I'm going 1-0 Brighton.
Yeah, I don't see a Palace win without Zaha, but I am going for another frustrating 0-0. So, final game of the game week. Those games that got delayed, they're starting to catch up now. They're starting to come into these game weeks, and it is Leeds versus Southampton. So, we've already gone through their form for both teams, so we're going to dive straight in with our predictions. Gary, you go first.
I predicted Leeds to win 2-1 against Wolves, but then I'm going to predict them to draw at home. They're going 1-1 here.
Oh, I just love following trends too much, maybe, and I'm going for another Southampton loss, and therefore I'm going 2-1 Leeds.
Ooh, wow.
And that is it for game week 25. As we have said numerous times throughout the video, if you wish to take part in our predictions, hit the link in the description. It takes 30 seconds. It's a bit of fun, and we'll show your scores in the next video.
See you next week.
See you later.